Hello and welcome back. In the last lecture we saw that by passing two asterisks we got a box like this, and this is not what we intended. So in order to avoid this we can raise an exception. So here I have my function. In my function I can include an if statement with an assertion, with a raising an exception. So I can say if length of my symbol is not equal to 1, right? If the length is not equal to 1, raise exception. And then I can have my own message. I can say the symbol you pass must have a length of 1. Right? So that will raise an exception. Now, if I call my function box print, then if I pass in two asterisks, then width and height, run it, I get an exception raised, right? So it says here, the symbol you pass must have a length of 1. Same here. It raised an exception. The symbol you pass must have a length of 1. Okay, so I can go, and if I fix that, I get the box. So the exception is gone. Similarly, if I pass two O's, the exception is back. So I got the symbol you pass must have a length of 1. Good. How about I pass a box, right? I have one symbol, but for height and width, I pass 1. Do you see what I get? This is not what I want. There is no error with the code, right? But this is not what I want. I want a box with widths and heights. And I can also raise another exception to prevent this kind of exceptions from happening. So I can add another if statement here. I can say if width is less than 2, or if height is less than 2, right? So I want to have that check. Raise exception. Then I can pass my own personal message. Width and height must have a length of 2 or more. Okay. So now if I save that and call my function, I get an exception error. It says width and height must have a length of 2 or more. And similarly, if I pass 2 stars here and then run it, you see, the symbol you pass must be a length of 1. So it stopped at the first exception. It didn't even get a chance to go to the second exception. Good. Okay, now if I pass a valid symbol, width and height, and run it. I get a nice box. Okay. So this kind of errors are called trace bugs. Shift another asterisk. So we call this kind of errors trace bugs. Okay. They trace back to where the error has occurred. Here it tells us in line 4 an exception was raised, and then the issue happened when we called our function. Good. And we can get this error message as a string also by using the traceback format exception function. Okay, let's look at that. Traceback format exception function. That's a function found in the traceback module. Let's see how we can do that. First, we have to import the traceback module. So import traceback module. Okay. Then we can use try, then raise exception. I can say this is the error message. Then we have our except statement. So I can store this exceptions in a text file. I can save it as a text file. Okay. So let's create a file, and I'm gonna name it errorlog.txt. It's a simple text file, and I'll pass in a to append to that file, and let me save that to a variable called error file. So error file is equal to open. Since I don't have this file, it will create it for me and then append to it every time I run it. And then I can have that error file and write to it. This is where the traceback format exception function comes. So traceback dot format underscore exe. Okay, that's the function that will help us store all the exceptions in a text file. And then once I write to that text file, I can close my text file by using the close function. Then I can finally print. A message for me. The traceback info was written and added in the error log text file, or something like that. Okay. So once I have this, every time we run our code, it will append to this error log text file. Okay. Let's run that. So the error traceback info was written and added to the error log. Okay, where is my function? So let me run this and show you. So if I call my function here and pass in that 2 asterisks and run it, I get an error, right? So this error log text file is created and saved in your current directory. Okay, I'm in my Jupyter notebook, so let me go and check for this error_log text file. So here, error_log text file should be created. Right here, error_log.text file. So if I open that, you see I ran it twice, so I get a message, traceback, raise exception. So this is my personal message. This is the error message. And then when I run it again, I got, this is an error message exception again. So every time you get an error, it appends to this file, to this log. So if I close this and go back here, now in this case, let me pass 1 and 1, right? So if I run that again and then go back to my error log, you see it added another log. So it doesn't matter how many times when you do it. So every time you run into this exception, it will be added to this log. Okay, let me go back and run it a few more times. So if I run that, if I go back and run it a couple more times, so I go back here to my error log text file. You see, it keeps adding to that file. Great. Thank you, everyone. And in the next lecture, we look at assertion.